I think it's been almost 2 years since I first said hello. I would like to reintroduce myself. My name is Sawyer, and I am not sure what I'm going to say next. um, I am currently in the works to legally change my name, so that's cool. I think last time we spoke, I was talking a lot about my professional and personal life. Um, my personal life being I was getting ready for my wedding, which was lovely. And, well, actually, to be honest with you, I've got really bad pandemic burnout, and there have been a lot of plot twists and turns within the last year that I did not necessarily expect. So, the beginning of the pandemic, well, actually, no, well, I'm not going to start there. Let's start at before there, when I guess I just gotten married. The ceremony was beautiful, and it was a really good time. It's really nice. And yeah, and then me and my wife, we went on our honeymoon, which was just an excuse to go out and spend a week together out in the sort of like, I wouldn't say like the countryside, but we went to some pretty scenic places just to go hang out where the locals do and do that sort of stuff. Um, yeah, we did a bunch of local tours of this small town that was near where we got married, and it was just really nice. It was really nice. It was a good time before we got back into the city and had to dive back into all the craziness that is, um, I guess, city life. But shortly after our wedding, we discovered that I was having some health issues with um, being able to eat certain foods and things. At the time, I was I ended up losing about 50 pounds and being quite sick. Uh, that was before everything sort of shut down. I was still working at my office job, doing my thing, and that was good. And then I remember getting the email on, I think, March 17th, where everyone was just being sent home. So I got to work from home for the rest of my contract for that, while I had some mystery thing wrong with myself. Um, and that, I guess, was the beginning of the pandemic. My wife worked as a mechanic at the time, and it was becoming very obvious that the business was going to be kind of difficult to sustain our lifestyle with. And then Melissa moved out to the countryside for a job opportunity, and those are very scarce right now. So when the opportunity presented itself, went for it. I moved out there for a little while too. I got a little stir crazy, and had most of my technology and stuff for the kind of work that I do here in the city. So it was a lot of back and forth for a while, and then I lived out there for a bit, and then I moved back here, and she stayed out there because her job is actually there. But yeah, over the pandemic, professionally, I was working my office job, and then my contract was up. So then I started working for a online kids property, which is a lot of fun. I got to work as um, a performer and puppeteer. I had the opportunity to work as a video editor and Illustrator, where I got to make visual assets and stuff for the videos. I also made some music for them and did some other things. And the whole project was very hands-on, and it was a lot of fun. And I've worked with the creator before, and I absolutely adore her. So anytime she says she has anything to work on, I'm there. And speaking of creative projects, I've also been fortunate enough to work on, like, I learned compositing for an animated music video that we did. Well, me and my friends did. Well, actually, they got me on board, so I'm very thankful for them. I worked on a PSA, which was another project that a friend had flagged to me and was like, hey, you can do this. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And it seemed to go over pretty well, which was nice. Outside of that, I'm still working on creating and pitching Nat's Neighborhood, which is the animated kids show that I was talking, or animated children's show that I was talking about in my first interview. Currently, it is being pitched to a publisher because it's very hard to get your foot in the door unless you're sort of known. So, the way that we're kind of navigating through that is if it has some kind of tangible thing already made and attached to it, it's a little bit more credible. So, people might be more inclined to listen. Yeah. I guess another thing to mention about living away from my wife, it's been very hard on, I guess, my head and my heart, but yeah, hopefully not for very much longer, as I'm going to be moving out that way for, I don't know how long, but moving out that way for a while, and I'm very much looking forward to being back together with her, which would be nice. Because video calls and stuff are cool, but they don't quite cut it. There's something that I've learned about pandemic times and being isolated and quarantine and all that stuff is there are so many things that used to stress me out or I used to focus on a lot that now they either really, really matter or they don't matter at all. There's been definitely a shift in perspective. Yeah.